Welcome to Ganesh Institute channel. So in today's lecture we are going to discuss about another block of aspects of English language, which is a history of English language. Alright, so let's begin it. So if you see, what is history if I ask you? So history is a retelling of what actually happened in the past. It is the explanation of incidents connected with something. And when I'll ask you about the history of language, then those incidents which are connected with something, then something will be a language. Okay. So basically in history of language, we will see how it goes, how it changes, how it evaluated. Okay. So basically there are two types of history, how something has grown up or how something has originated. There are two types of history. First is internal history. When we consider that language is an autonomous system, that means change by itself, which is subject to change and having evolution, and we examine that evolution, that change without referring to any external event or cause. Okay, we just evaluate the internal factors, then it is internal history. For example, if you see, there are so many people who speak language, right? There are so many people. So its laws are bound to change. Everyone speaks in his or her way, right? So it changes over a period of time. For example, you can say pronunciation or sound value. This is a type of internal history. But when it comes to external history, so external history is when changes in language is because of external events, because of it's coming in contact with other languages. Okay, for example, if you say we were governed by British government, right, during a colonial time. So English, we just took that English language because they imposed it on us, right? Britishers imposed it on us. So we got this English language because of colonialism. So that is the external history factor. All right. Next, moving on, another section which is sources for the history of language. So from where we have got that, okay, language has originated from this thing or that thing. So if you see, there are some chronicles, that means written records where we found some evidence. Then we have dictionaries of different languages. We have books about different aspects of language. And we have inscriptions, that means, carving on stones or somewhere, and coins, which tell us that, okay, how is the history of language, how language has been originated. Okay, so when it comes to origin of language, we will see that language is a speech of people. Okay, so that means history of languages, history of people. English has formed through a series of changes brought about by migrations, invasions, conversions, settlement, and colonization. If you see someone migrated from one place to another, then that person needs to adapt into the new language, right? If somebody invades, so we will discuss these aspects later on in brief. So let's move in to most important part of this lecture, which is family of language. What is a family of language? See, languages which show some common features, some shared properties, these are said to belong to one family. Why, we can say, why there is a similarity? Why, what is the reason of similarities of language? Because if you see, the concerned language have descended from a common parent. If there is a common parent of two or more languages, then we can say that is at some point of time, if we see, there was a language spoken over a given geographical area, which over a period of time maybe broke up or fragmented into a number of sibling varieties, then similarities are there, common features and shared properties are there, and that is where when we called it as a family. For example, if you see, we have Indo-Aryan family having all those languages like Punjabi, Gujarati, Marathi, Bengali, which have common features like sound, words, and even elements of grammar. Then we have Dravidian language family, which includes the languages like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada. Okay, so here one question strikes in our mind, maybe, that why do language change? What's the need that we have to go through, each and every change every now and then? Why do languages continuously break up and fragment into different dialects, different regional languages, sub-dialects, their subparts, their varieties, and into another languages? There are some reasons. Firstly, a natural change. See, different people speak a language, right? Under varying conditions in different situations. So, language change in that way. If you see geographical separation or division, that is one of the factor due to which language changes. If you see these synchronic variation means which exist at a given time. This leads to historical change. This leads to the changes in languages. Okay. Now let's discuss some facts about language. If you see, language is neither born nor does it die, except when every single person or every single one of its speakers dies. So are you getting it? There are some dead languages where speakers have died. Each and every speaker of that particular language died. So there is no, descendment. So if you see Etruscan, Gothic, Cornish, these languages are considered as dead languages. Whereas if you see, there are some languages like Latin language or Sanskrit, they are often referred as dead language, but they are not dead actually. That is where we are referring to the literary or textual language, because their use is somewhere less. We are more or less using them in a reduced way. So if you see, however, these languages, Latin or Sanskrit, they are used or they are spoken and they are survived in some other languages because we have developed those languages. So they are survived through other languages. For example, there is spoken Latin which survives in Italian, French, Spanish, and many other languages. Similarly, Sanskrit also lives in Hindi, Punjabi, Marathi, and other Indo-Aryan languages. Okay, there is a language which is called proto-language. As I told you that those languages are considered into one family which have common parent, right? So that common parent language is called proto-language. That means languages are development of older languages, and those older languages are called proto-language. Okay. Now, if it comes to how do we know that yes, language has a common source? How was it known that language has a common source? So, you know, so many studies are there, and these studies have been taken place for so long by considering discovery and study of Sanskrit using comparative study of languages by the Western scholars. If I give you a name like Sir William Jones in the late 18th and 19th century, who suggested or whose studies gave resulted into that okay, languages have a common source. All right. Now, if we do that, how English is formed from Indo European languages, or what is the common feature of Indo European language? So there are some common features. That's why we are putting them into a single family of Indo European language, right? So first feature is very, very important. First feature is inflectional structure. So let me tell you what is inflectional structure. See, it is a process of adding on affix. What is affix? Affix is adding prefix or suffix. See, if I give you an example, unwell. So here un is a prefix. Similarly, happiness. Here ness is a suffix. So prefix and suffix both are categorized into a broader category which is affix. So inflectional structure basically, it is the process of adding on affix to a word so as to change it in some other way, but keeping the rules of grammar of the language in mind. Okay? And in inflectional structure, order doesn't matter. Order of words doesn't matter. Let me tell you how. If you see an example here, here is an example of Nero implicit Agrippinum, right? Here, Nero implicit Agrippinum. Now you can write it, let me tell you firstly the meaning of this. This is taken from Old Latin language. Now, if you translate it into English, that means Nero killed Agrippina. So you can write it in the form of Agrippinum interficit Nero. That is also okay because order doesn't matter. It is an inflectional structure. But if you see modern English language where Nero killed Agrippina, you cannot write Agrippina killed Nero because it will change the meaning of the sentence. Similarly, you cannot write killed Nero Agrippina because now it is not forming any sense, right? So in modern English, order of words matter, but in inflectional structure, order doesn't matter. Similarly, if we take example of Sanskrit, here Devdatta Ojanam Pakati. Ojanam, or we can say another example, Ojanam Devdatta Pakati. Or another sentence, Pakati Ojanam Devdatta. All these three sentences are giving same meaning in English, which is Devdatta cooks rice. Okay, but there the order doesn't matter. Okay, so this is an inflectional structure. This is the common feature of all the Indo-European languages, the primitive one. Now, second common feature is common word stock. If you see uh, every single word in Indo-European language, in some way or the other, looks like similar. If you see, if I give you an example of brother, if you see here, brother. So, brother, in English we are saying brother. It resembles with the Dutch language word bruder, then in German Bruder, then in Greek language Frutter, then Russian brat, then Irish brathier, and in Sanskrit Bhratar. So all these words are somewhat in the way similar. Okay, so this is the common feature of Indo-European language. First is inflectional and second is common word stock. Okay, now moving on to next thing, which is what is basically the difference between Germanic group and Indo-European. You know, as I told you, a family of language. So Indo-European language is a family group. Now there are some subdivisions. So I'm taking Germanic group here. Why? I'll tell you in later slides. Firstly, let's see this. See, Germanic group are different from parent Indo-European group in some ways. Like they have simplified inflection system. That means just they don't do the division of tenses. They just take simpler aspect. Okay, if you are not getting it at this moment, don't worry, I'll bring another video for you guys which will be having a broader aspect of this video. Okay. Next is declension of adjectives. Declension means broader categories. Adjectives, the categories of adjectives in Germanic group is very, very weak. I'll tell you what is the weak, what does weak signify here. Okay. So basically, in Germanic, in Indo European, any syllable, any diphthong or any phoneme, you can say, you can stress wrong. Okay, but in Germanic, the first syllable is stressed. First syllable, as I'm saying, first. So first syllable is stressed. Whereas there are some exceptions like compound verbs, like believe and forget. So in believe and forget, uh, the first syllable is not stressed here. Okay, here any syllable can be stressed. Any way you can speak it in any way. Now vowels are different in Germanic group and parent Indo group, European group. This is the dissimilarity. And there is a first sound shift. I'll tell you while explaining the evolution of grammar in the sub-series of this video, what is first sound shift. Okay. Now moving on, how does this English is formed? Okay, how does English form, or how you can say about the making of English? Okay, see, modern English belongs to the Germanic group. Okay, of Indo-European language. There are three Germanic tribes through which it evolves or it is evolving, which are Jutes, Saxon, Angles or Angles. Okay, it is also called as Angli. So these are three tribes, Germanic tribes. Now it is known that in 5th and 6th century these Germanic tribes migrated to the England. Okay, especially English, because English is the speech of the Angli. Okay, so just before few slides I told you that migration is one of the factor of language variation. So here you can see with an example. Secondly, Saint Augustine. Saint Augustine's arrival in 597 BC and the conversion of whole England to Latin Christianity. This is also the reason how English was introduced in England. Then thereafter, in 8th, 9th and 10th century, there was a Scandinavian invasion. Scandinavian is also a group of people. Thereafter, in 11th century, there was a Norman conquest. French people invaded England, and so as language again changed. So these are some of the factors why English was brought into England and how it was introduced. Now moving on, just before a slide I told you what's the difference between Germanic and Indo-European language, right? Now let's see, because I told you English has been brought up from Germanic group. So what are the common features? So common features are, firstly, there is a simpler verb conjugation. So just like today, we are having three tenses, right? Past, present, and future. But there, at that time, there was a simpler verb conjugation. There were only two tenses, one to express past and one to express both present as well as future. Secondly, there was a twofold classification of verbs. This is the common factor of Germanic and English, the early English, Old English. Twofold classification of verbs. If you see, twofold classification means there are two types of verbs, strong verbs, weak verbs. Strong verbs are having three different forms of verbs, sing, sang, sung, whereas weak verbs have last two as sing, walk, walked, walked. Okay, join, joined, joined. Now there is also a twofold classification of adjectives. If you see, if there are, when I said twofold classification of adjectives, which means strong adjective and weak adjective. Strong adjective means when we are not putting anything with uh, adjective in front of adjective, that means we are only having adjective and a noun or pronoun, like famous guitarist. But if you see weak adjective, then we have like any article a and the in front of, or to specify adjective, a famous person for example. Okay, another common feature is fixed stress accent. What is it? Fixed stress accent means focus was on, or focus is on one syllable only of a polysyllabic word. Then there comes regular shifting of the stop consonant. What are stop consonants? You know English alphabets, vowels and consonants. So stop consonants are those which are produced by stopping the air stream from the lungs and then suddenly releasing it. If I say p, b, so these are stop consonants. These are stopping the air stream. Okay. Now, last but not the least, here comes three periods of English, very, very important. There are three eras of English: Old English, which lies from 450 to 1100 BC, then Middle English, 1100 to 1500 BC, and Modern English, which we are having now. So how did we get this today's modern English language from 450 since 450 BC? This is what we have to study, and this is the very important topic which we will figure out in our coming videos. All right, I hope you got this video, and if so, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Take care of yourself till my next video. Bye bye.